Welcome to the Brand Telling Podcast, where we share secrets, systems, and strategies you can use to unleash the power of story to build and grow your brand. The Brand Telling Podcast is brought to you by the team at Brand Telling, a B2B brand storytelling agency. Now, please welcome your host, principal, and chief brand teller, Arthur Germain.
When is the last time you attended a wedding, a corporate event, or a big backyard party? They're fun, your friends and family are there. It can be a little chaotic.
Yeah, but the food has to be fantastic and the drinks have to be top shelf.
Yeah, that's right. Because at the end of the night, you go home with a lot of great memories and the designated driver behind the wheel. But guess who got there way before anyone else and left after the final guest staggered out? The event planner and the tent rental company. For them, it's like that old Jackson Browne song, The Loadout. Now the seats are all empty. Let the roadies take the stand, pack it up, tear it down. They're the first to come and the last to leave, working for that minimum wage. They'll set it up in another town. Okay, I'm not going to sing. I'm going to save your ears, Asaf. But welcome to the Brand Telling Podcast. I'm Arthur Germain, and with me across the table is my co-host, Asaf, the brand chef Bachman.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for sparing us the singing, Arthur.
You're welcome.
Our guest today knows all about being the first to arrive and the last to leave. Justin Baliunas is co-founder of Magnif-A-Tent, the Metro New York and Long Island's premier tent and party rental company. So, Arthur, what are we cooking up today?
Well, we're going to talk today about what I call a hidden in plain sight brand. That's a brand that's all over the place, but if they've done their job right, you don't even notice them. You just notice the fantastic experience that they've left you feeling. Justin, welcome to the podcast.
It's great to be here, guys.
So, as I just mentioned, we kind of see your brand as hidden in plain sight, and that's what I mean. It's a brand that's seen but not seen. Why don't you tell everybody, what you do, kind of the services and everything that you offer?
Absolutely. So we offer tent and party rentals, anything party rental associated. We specialize in weddings and large formal events. We have all different style tents, different sizes, the best products that are out there. We have handmade tables, chairs, bars, dance floors. We do full event flooring. Essentially, we'll come in and we'll build you a venue.
Yeah, I love that idea. You build the venue. Somebody says to you, here's the experience I want my guests to have, whether it's for a wedding or a big party, an anniversary. And you say, great, let me build you the venue, which is terrific. It could be in the backyard, or it could be, I've seen some of your video, it could be at the back end of, maybe a historic building or something, or over on the water. And you're able to do that. What's interesting to me is like, that venue becomes its own brand in a way. You know what I'm saying? How do you then do that and not be seen as Magnif-A-Tent all over the place?
So that's, I guess, what happens behind the scenes. So we'll extract from whoever our client is the theme or the vibes that they're looking for, and we establish that relationship with the client. The client knows who Magnif-A-Tent is, but the guests, they're really not going to know who provided the tent unless they ask. I mean, if you go to a venue and you're eating dinner and you're outdoors but under a tent, I guess you don't know whose tent it is. So
right.
We put a lot of effort into fostering those relationships with the clients that are going to be the ones that come back to us.
Sure.
So it's the planners, the caterers, the venues that have their preferred vendors.
So on your tents, then, I'm assuming you don't have your logo every 2 feet.
Not obnoxiously, but we do have our logo. So every tent's required to have a fire certificate in order to pass the inspections from the fire marshal, but we do have our logo now with our phone number. It's tiny. It's not obnoxious, but
subtle.
It is there.
Sure.
It is there.
That's the way to do it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, and I'm assuming too that you and your crew are there, you're wearing shirts that, have your full logo on it too. Let's talk a little bit about the idea of that it is a brand within a brand within a brand, right? The experience that you're trying to leave people with is really the experience for what the hosts want it to be. How do you work with a host to kind of develop that and give each of those events kind of its own brand or its own experience?
I love that question, and that's really what we try to hammer home on, what separates us from the competition. So we listen to the customer, we really understand their needs and what they want, and starting with their budget, and we'll try to guide them and keep them within their parameters of their budget, but also try to give them the look that they desire. So it's all about communication, and planning an event is stressful, whether you're having 4 people over for a dinner party. There's a certain element of stress there. Is the house clean? Is the food gonna be delicious? And that's just the 4 people coming over for dinner. If you're planning an event and you have hundreds of people coming, and multiple vendors that have to work together to execute this event that may only last 4 hours, and it might be months or years of planning that goes into it. We believe that planning an event is stressful, but dealing with the rental company doesn't have to be. And in our industry, it usually is. The communication is not there. We get praised all the time for just answering the phone. Right. They're like, you're the 4th tent company I've called. You're the first person to answer. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder
what everyone else
is doing.
And as you said, these things can be years in the planning. I mean, think about big annual corporate events. Those guys start planning. I know because I've worked in large corporations. Those guys are planning right after. They are like, okay, everybody, take a break, get back. We expect you back in a week. We start planning. And the event team in-house begins, they do the postmortem, they call it. How did we do? What did we do? Did we get back everyone's surveys? And they start right then again. Who typically is first off, who's typically the customer for you? Who is it that you're working with? And then tell me about the role that you find that you play in that.
So the customer is typically either will deal directly with the bride or groom who's hosting a wedding or a social event, or we'll deal with a wedding planner, event planner, or a caterer who will bring us in, and we'll deal directly with them. For corporations or foundations, like you just mentioned, this past weekend we did a bunch of tents for the American Cancer Society, and the next day they called and they put the next one on the calendar for us.
Right. Yeah, I saw the video on Instagram, by the way. We'll be linking to Magnif-A-Tent's Instagram account, which everybody needs to follow because it is phenomenal.
Thank you.
What is that? What is the handle for that?
It's Magnif-A-Tent LI.
Why don't you spell that? Because I know there's a little issue on the spelling.
Absolutely. So it's Magnif-A-Tent.
Okay.
So Magnif-A-Tent, which is why, like I mentioned earlier, the website is partyrentals.li.com, because when clients would ask, okay, what is your website, to try to convey that over the phone, I didn't like the way
it sounded, right?
The pushback we would get, and I spell that, and
too much friction.
Maybe
my original company name was Communication Strategy Group. That was hard to tell people, and everything I'd say, all singular, all one word. And the first thing that I did is went out and got a URL that was GoCSG, so that people could get to the website faster, because They were never going to do it. And they'd say, "Oh, is your website CSG?" I'm like, "No, that's Credit Suisse Group, and I'm never going to get that address. So, let's go CSG." Worked for me.
I have a question. Actually,
yeah, go.
So when you're dealing with a new client and they're in the planning stages, one of the things that comes to my mind is there's really only one shot to get the event right? There's no do-over, there's no undo, right? In the digital world of design, which is where I play, there's always Control and Z, undo it and try it again. But, you get the party once a year, right? At the very most often, right? Once a year.
Yeah.
And it's not going to happen next year if you don't get it right this year. So,
and let's hope that the weddings that they don't happen again. It's the anniversaries that you're working on after that.
So when you're dealing with a new client, right, and you're thinking about pushing forward your brand forward, how do you go about ensuring them that you've got them covered on that date, like they don't have to worry about?
Again, I think it really falls back on the communication and letting them know and asking the right questions and covering all the details that maybe they have overlooked. But we're easy to reach pretty much 24/7, and we convey a certain confidence, and the client knows that we have it under control. Now, we're planning for worst case scenario in most situations, so we take that approach. Obviously, we hope the weather's going to cooperate and it's going to be a perfect day. But
what you mean? You don't control weather.
Exactly. So this goes back to the element of stress that is inevitable with tented events.
Right.
So we're dealing with Mother Nature. Now, it's like you said, we have one shot. If it rains and thunders Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday before all the events planned on Saturday, I can't just say, "Hey, listen, we're going to push your event back to Sunday."
Right.
We have to figure it out, and we do. And
you flooring too, right?
Yeah. So we do full vinyl flooring. We build the subfloor. We lay out stringers with plywood, essentially the same way they do in a home. It's sturdy. We also offer leveled flooring. It's a whole nother game with structures, and you could put a tent anywhere.
What do you think the biggest struggles facing potential clients are in the events industry nowadays versus when you started?
For the clients or for us?
For the clients.
For the clients. The biggest struggle, I would have to say, is price point, is trying to accommodate their budget while also giving them the event of their dreams.
Right, trying to hit their vision at a budget point.
Which is, again, kind of where we come in with our knowledge and expertise, and we could say, maybe we get rid of this and, you upgrade this aspect of the event. And that's a more budget-friendly alternative, and it gives you a similar desired look.
We're going to take a pause right here, and we'll be back in just a moment. Hey there, if you're like most business owners or founders, you may find that after time, your brand has undergone some type of change. Maybe you've launched a new product, a new service, or a new location, or perhaps you've acquired some new talent or capability.
And now your team is struggling to communicate what makes your brand different and what sets you apart as the right choice.
And that's why Asaf and I have launched the Brand Building Bootcamp. It's a focused workshop where we reimagine, refresh, rebuild, and relaunch your entire brand.
We're essentially helping you become a category of one.
The Brand Building Bootcamp gives you a refreshed brand storybook, visual identity, magnetic website, and the tools for connecting your content with your audiences to increase your bottom line.
Arthur, don't forget, we're delivering all this in 30 days or less.
Yeah, no pressure.
Well, we're limiting the bootcamp to only a few clients each month. So if you're interested, let us know.
Yeah, if this sounds interesting, you can learn more at thebrandbuildingbootcamp.com and schedule a no-obligation brand chat with me and Asaf.
And now, let's get back to our podcast.
Okay, so we're back with Justin Baliunas, who is the co-founder of Magnif-A-Tent, or if you're trying to find it on the website, tell me again that URL.
PartyRentalsLI.com.
Yeah, that's the faster way to get there. Justin was just telling us about some of the struggles that his clients have, usually around price point and, trying to hit their vision. What is the story that you want your brand to leave with those customers? Not just the customers who you've sold to, but also to their guests. What's the kind of the story you want to leave them with?
That our inventory is quality. So we pride ourselves on delivering a quality equipment that is well maintained, because that really is our entire business. Mm-hmm. It's rental equipment. So we are constantly reinvesting into our inventory, and we purchase the best that money could buy.
Yeah.
So the guests, while they may not have dealt with us, they're looking around and they're saying, "Wow, this is outstanding."
Right. Tell me about you mentioned inventory. What's the size of your warehouse?
So we're just under 10,000 square feet, and we're bursting at the seams. Warehousing is insanely expensive on Long Island, so when our lease is up, ideally we need
more space,
at least 15 to 20,000 square feet. I would like to get something larger that we could grow into, but considering the price point of a warehouse, I'm sick and tired of moving, but I think that's just a part of the growth. Yeah, there's no way around it.
So, Justin, as your business has grown from smaller occasions, smaller events, to larger events like the one from this past weekend, where have you seen the most growth in the business?
The most growth has been in the larger and more formal events, the high-end weddings, festivals, corporate events. That is where we've really found ourselves. We service the tri-state area, so for these larger events, we do travel. We're mainly on Long Island. We do a lot of work on the North Fork and the South Fork, but we also travel to Connecticut. We go to New Jersey, to Manhattan.
And avoid every parkway while doing so.
Every parkway. That's, Jersey gets interesting.
Yeah.
But it's certainly the larger, more formal events and the high-end weddings. We've turned into a household name in the wedding industry.
So tell me a little bit about the corporate side of things. What's been going on there? Do you see growth there, or do you see a plateau there?
So after COVID, everything shut down.
Right.
The outdoor weddings were probably the first to return, and corporate always plays it safe. So they've been slower to return. They are coming back. They're not back 100%. I think a lot of corporations have realized what they can do without during COVID, even in terms of office space and events.
Yeah.
So
something we see common in a lot of industries.
Yeah.
Well, like what you just said, a lot of corporations are playing this, the back to office game, and they've started it where they can, dropping leases and reducing space, trying to make some smart moves, right? People can work from home and they don't always have to be in the office. I do think, though, that from a promoting the brand standpoint, seeing corporations getting back into doing events and doing more unique events, instead of doing 15 small events, maybe one big event, different. An outdoor event like what you're able to pull off is a big event. When I think back to what are the events I've attended that really stand out, it's those that have either had a venue or, like you've just said, built their own venue to do something. Those really stand out a lot more than yet another, coffee in somebody's conference room does.
I couldn't agree more, and I think the fact that a lot of these corporations are utilizing remote workers more, it kind of puts a need for the camaraderie of the company to actually host at least these once-a-year events.
Yeah,
I think it's more important now if they're are going to be if there are going to be a larger majority of remote workers. But like you said, it does have a lasting impact. We did an event in Brooklyn on a rooftop last winter, clear top tent, very difficult logistically.
Sure, but nice, beautiful view of Manhattan.
I'm sure it was gorgeous.
It was in Dumbo, Brooklyn. It was gorgeous.
That's fantastic.
Sounds like a dream.
And like you said, it's not just, we think about bringing people, older people back to work. Some of these younger kids, the millennials, the Gen Zs, they've gone to college from their bedrooms if they were caught up in the pandemic. And this is their opportunity to really be able to interact with one another. And the only time might be when there is a corporate event that actually pulls them together. If they're not going into the office or if they're working remotely, that corporate event may be the only thing. And that might solidify and, help keep them into their brand. I still remember in my first real job out of college, I worked for CMP Publishing, which became CMP Media. It was a big and growing publishing company. But the summer event that they had every year, summer conference, they would have a speaker, and then they would do a hosting event. They did this at what was called the Harrison House, which is now the Glen Cove Mansion. And they would have this big event, this outdoor event. We would talk about it all year long. People who came to the company who were new, we would be telling them about this event all year long because it was an opportunity for the California office to get together and the New York office to get together.
That's what I call a strong brand touch point.
Yeah, exactly. I think Asaf's right. While we may not think of a wedding as a strong brand touch point, it sure as hell is. It's the thing that brings together all of the bride side of the family, all the groom side of the family, all of the friends. And it may be the one time they've all gotten together and met with one another and, gotten to exchange Instagram handles or whatever to connect.
And it's also the birth of a new brand.
That's a nice way to put it. Let's run out with that one. I like that.
It's in our DNA.
Yeah.
This desire to gather with community and celebrate. I mean, it literally transcends culture and time. It's part of being human.
You have an interesting kind of a start for your brand. Tell me about your co-founder. When did you meet him?
Me and Patrick have met when we were 3 years old, 4 years old at the bus stop. We grew up around the block from each other. Yeah. And best friends our whole lives. After high school.
And everyone told you it was a really great idea for best friends to go into business together too, right?
Quite
Those
the opposite.
Always work well.
Yeah. It's, again, everybody had their opinion that it was a terrible idea. Me and Pat, we're complete opposites.
Mm-hmm.
And we respect each other. And honestly, I could say that while we may have disagreements, it never escalates and it never crosses the line. We'll always resolve it quickly, and we're usually on the same page. Now,
and you've been in business together for how long now?
12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we started it together. We always knew we wanted to go into business. I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs, or at least I wasn't raised by a family of entrepreneurs. His older brother, is an entrepreneur. Everybody I worked for after high school who was moderately successful, I always felt like I was way more capable than they were. So it was just it was a desire of mine. It was just the classroom setting, sitting at a desk or in an office with the way my mind works, I just have to be out there doing things. So for me, it was the only option. Pat, he got his degree at Hofstra in finance, and we shared that same passion, wanting to start a business. So we started while we were in college, literally bought one tent. We had a friend in the industry, so we were familiar with it. We were attracted to it. And it's from there we've just reinvested and have become obsessed with it.
It's funny. There are a lot of those stories that the the famous HP stories are that, Hewlett and Packard, were engineers and they used one of their garages and that's where they started Hewlett Packard. The story of Microsoft was, Bill Gates and Paul
Allen,
they started, one did the engineering, one was more the marketing and finance guy. So
Apple, literally starting in the garage.
Exactly. The two Steves.
So being complete opposites. Pat is your typical Irish Italian where he is just rational, even keeled. There's very little emotion. I'm emotional. He is ambitious too, but I have this insatiable ambition drive. Yeah. We got to do this.
That's a more polite way to put it, right?
Yeah.
I've got drive.
Yeah. So I'm constantly, my mind doesn't stop. I'm looking for ways we can improve, looking for things we need to complete, and we complement each other nicely.
Yeah.
It works.
So tell me more. What do you think are one of those things that you're looking to improve? What's next for you guys?
So what's next is certainly the infrastructure of the company. As we began the company, having a partner, it was kind of, you do this, I'll do that. And it worked well for many years. And now we have a staff, we have employees, but we need to really strengthen our infrastructure and kind of scale back on the growth for a moment. And
the external growth, kind of while you focus on your internal growth.
Focus on the internal growth, because what has happened is we've become the bottleneck of the company.
Yeah.
Where we have to put people in position, and there's no need to buy any more equipment right now. There's no need to, we're still going to advertise. There's always room for growth in that aspect. But
sure.
The primary focus this winter or this off season is to make some headway with infrastructure.
Yeah, we understand, because when Asaf and I talk about doing the brand building boot camp, we only take 2 companies a month because we really want to be in their hands-on and work on them. And if we're doing 3 or 4, it gets a little chaotic and we become the bottleneck.
And we just wouldn't be able to deliver
quality
what we at the speed that's offered.
One of the things that I would say, when you're hiring people and training people, is to make sure you and Pat, think about what you want to be the brand values that they all carry, and make sure that they understand that. As hokey as it may sound, giving them this, these are our brand values that we want to carry, because as you said, one of those guys is going to answer the phone, and you want what they say on the phone to be what you would say on the phone.
I actually teach it in a way that the way I explain it to clients is, when you have multiple employees and they get into an argument, if they look to the values and the values will tell you what the answer is, there's no need for these employees to even bring it up to your attention. They'll know where you stand. And the conflict could just be squashed like that.
Yeah.
And so defining your brand strategy, your brand foundation is really key to bring in the 4 men in that will not only be able to do the work at the professional level that you want, but they'll be on page with you as far as how other employees should be treated, how customers should be treated, how the guests of the customers should be treated. And that's all in line with the brand. That's the whole brand strategy.
Yeah. You've done the right thing when the person you've hired is able to make the next hire for you. And it's exactly who you would have hired, that next level down.
Which allows you to step away from more of the lower level operational tasks and get into the higher level operational tasks, such as business development, finding that next warehouse, finding the next 3 foremen.
Yeah, and then going on to the outside and doing your outside growth and everything else.
So, Justin, we're coming to my favorite part of the podcast. So what I want to know is, what's the spiciest event story that you have for our audience?
So this happened recently. Now, I hope I'm on target with what you mean by spiciest, but this is the most memorable for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this was a wedding that had been in the works as far as planning for over a year. It was a super high-end wedding on the east end of Long Island. And there were a lot of moving parts for this wedding: sidewalls, heaters, lighting, dimmers. It was a cook tent. So they had hired a tent attendant. Is a service we offer. We'll have a representative on site to mitigate any issues or prevent issues. And given the scope of this wedding, I had decided that I just wanted to go. I said, let me sit in as the tent attendant. It was important to me to be there. And like I said, high-end client. And during the ceremony, it rained for about 5 minutes. And it was actually pretty magical. But the DJ soundboard got wet and ruined. And I wasn't aware of that, and that has nothing to do with me or my company. So during cocktail hour now, after the ceremony, we're in the reception tent, we're getting everything ready, and I overhear the conversation between the DJ and the event planner. And I hear him say, "It's not working." And I'm looking at my watch, and reception starts in 5 minutes. So I asked him, "Where's your backup?" He said he doesn't have one. I said, "Okay, where's your warehouse?" He said it's 3 hours away. So I immediately started making phone calls. Now we're all the way out east. There's not much around. And the stars aligned. I couldn't even believe it. As I hung up the phone, I texted the event planner. I found someone. She said, "Where is he?" And I responded, "He's in the driveway." So this guy had just left a gig.
Oh, wow.
He was dressed for an event. All of his equipment was in tow. And when he punched in the address, he was 3 minutes away.
That is awesome.
So while the bride now is doing her welcome speech, which this is really where it got memorable, because this has never happened before and it may never happen again. Hopefully not under these circumstances. I was caught off. I wasn't paying attention. I was tying off a sidewall. They wanted a wall opened, and she stopped and turned to me and thanked me and my company in front of all of her guests. And it was a surreal moment, but it was such a special moment. I'll certainly never forget it.
That's fantastic.
That's an incredible story.
Yeah. And that's, that's the kind of story to leave your employees with, to let them know this is what we do.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's definitely memorable and spicy. So I'd say that definitely
awesome.
qualifies.
Listen, Justin, we want to thank you for joining us here on the Brand Telling Podcast. These are some great stories. And why don't you leave everybody again with your Instagram handle and your website address?
Sure. So our website address is partyrentalsli.com. That's partyrentals, plural, li.com. And our Instagram is Magnif-A-Tent li. Now, if you visit our website, there are links to our social if you have trouble spelling that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And follow them so you don't have to spell it again is a good thing.
And watch the reels because they really are fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Justin, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so
For
much.
the Brand Telling Podcast, this is Arthur Germain.
And this is Asaf, the brand chef Bachman, signing off.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you for joining us for the Brand Telling Podcast. If you have a story idea or would like to be a guest on the podcast, please send us an email at podcast@brandtelling.com.